So it's not just superheroes in live action TV shows and movies that are popular nowadays. Superhero animes are becoming more and more popular by the day. And this is one of my favorites. The world has become a superpowered society with over 80% of the population possessing some kind of power called a quirk. So in this world, the story follows this young teenager called Izuku Midori, a quirkless teenager who strives to become the greatest hero like his idol, All Might. This show has a very memorable cast of characters that are very unique and stick out and have very unique personalities and powers. So we have all these different students, we learn all their names and all the different powers as the story goes on. The same goes for teachers and other heroes and villains in the story. The protagonist, Izuku Midoriya, is a bit bland. Like, he strives to be the best hero that he possibly can be, like his idol All Might. He's always trying to do the right thing and is always striving to do his best, but he's a bit bland person. Like, that's all that he really has going for him, is just his ideals and him working on his goals. Other than that, he's a bit bland. It can be hard keeping track of what everyone's names are and what their quirks are. So this anime takes the unique approach. It always labels on the screen what someone's name is and what their powers are when they first appear on screen for that episode. So that's very helpful, especially in the first season, but it can get a bit annoying in the second, third, and fourth season where you're already familiar with the characters, you know what their quirks are, but it keeps telling you what they are. But it is very handy in this season. And there's also like a voiceover every time someone is introduced. That's the character Present Mike. And he just keeps talking about what everyone's powers and abilities are. Kind of takes you out of the show a little bit. But as I said before, it is handy, especially with this first season.
Tenya Ida, his quirk engine. As you can see, his legs are pretty dang fast.
And since there is such a large roster of characters, there's like over 20 students, and there's like Class A and Class B, and there's teachers as well and other superheroes. It's hard to keep track of everybody. And this season is only 12 episodes long, I believe. But other characters get more time in the spotlight in later seasons. And this anime has my favorite superhero of all time, All Might. And in this world, he is the best hero, the symbol of peace, and the strongest hero in this world. He's basically the Superman of this show, but unlike Superman, he does have a weakness. He does have a time limit on how long he can use his power, and as he continually uses power, the less time he can use it. So that's an interesting dynamic for him and makes him a bit more interesting. He also pretends to play dumb, especially when he's being a teacher, to make people underestimate him. There are also so many other great characters, like if you've got Bakugo, Uraraka, Froppy, Mr. Aizawa. There's so many other students, teachers, and other characters that are very interesting, but I won't get into it now. There's not really a main threat in this season. It focuses more on introducing all the teachers and all the students and getting their backstories and all their powers and their personalities in the forefront first before we focus on what the antagonist is going to be. This is fixed in later seasons. And I've watched both the dub and the sub, and I do prefer to watch dubs. That's just my personal preference, but I know a lot of other people like to watch the sub. But for me, I like the dub. So essentially, it's the same world that exists today, but it's like kind of like a different reality where 80% of the population has superpowers. So we have the same continents, there's still in countries, there's still Japan and America and all that, but we just focus on Japan in this season. And what I like about this show, it has some very interesting and unique powers. Like, you've got all the basic powers that we've seen in so many other superhero TV shows, movies, and comics, like invisibility, having superhuman strength and speed, those kind of things, very basic. But we've also got very unique powers as well, like Hīrō being able to shoot tape out of his fucking elbows. Ida, who has like jets in his calves, which is the reason why he can run super fast. He just doesn't have it. It's because he has jets in his calves. And Bakugo, who has an explosion kind of power. It's not because he just can shoot explosions. It's because he has like nitroglycerin like sweat that he can make explode. And there's more and more unique powers introduced later on. And these are the most unique powers I've ever seen in a super powered show like this, and it's very entertaining. For this season at least, it follows the manga very closely. I've actually read the manga of this, and from what I can remember, it follows it very, very closely. This season only goes for 12 episodes, like I said before, so there isn't much leeway for filler and that kind of thing. So it follows the manga quite closely in this season. It does have a very, very good soundtrack. There are so many fantastic tracks in this song. Like, for example, You Say Run, which I hear goes with everything, is such an amazing track. There's so many other great tracks as well. I'll list some of my favorites in the description down below so you can listen to them yourself. And there's so many more in later seasons, which I'll get into in later reviews. And all the, like, the blasts, the explosions, the punches, and the fighting, it all sounds fantastic. There's some very interesting fights in this season. You have superpowered people fighting against other superpowered people, and that's always very entertaining to me. But just in this anime form, them constantly trying to think of how to adapt to another person's quirk and get around it and figure out their weakness and take them down, I like that a lot. Later on this season, with the League of Villains, they fight against the students. There's some very interesting fights there, particularly when the Nomu fights against All Might. Any fight scene involving All Might is very entertaining to me. And they're just some fantastic fight scenes and just beautifully animated. So there are some amazing fight scenes in this season, and it only gets better from here, and it is fantastic.
Go beyond! Plus!
So I would highly recommend that you watch My Hero Academia. It's one of the most popular superhero animes out at the moment, along with One Punch Man. So I highly recommend that you give it a watch. And if you're a fan of the superhero genre, you're really missing out if you haven't seen it. So that was my review of My Hero Academia Season 1. So if you're interested in superhero anime or superhero movies and TV shows in general, I try to cover them as much as I can on my channel. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please consider hitting the subscribe button. If not, thank you for watching my video. I hope you have a nice day. And to all my loyal subscribers, thank you for listening to me ramble on about a TV show or anime for a few minutes. I really do appreciate it. Thank you again, and I'll catch you next time.